They called them hoaxes, but when experts examined the ridges, the breaks, and the sheer precision of the tracks you're about to see, one chilling truth remained: no human could have made them. For decades, skeptics have dismissed Bigfoot evidence as hoaxes or misidentification. But what if there are footprints that science can't explain away? Today, we're diving deep into the world of Bigfoot tracks, prints so numerous, detailed, and anatomically accurate that faking them would be almost impossible. This video explores the most compelling sets of Bigfoot footprints ever discovered, contrasts them with known hoaxes, and highlights the undeniable evidence that something extraordinary walks among us. Prepare for an in-depth journey into the science, history, and mystery of Bigfoot tracks. Bigfoot footprints have been a cornerstone of Sasquatch research since the 1950s. Unlike blurry photographs or fleeting sightings, footprints leave a tangible trail of evidence that can be studied in detail. Footprint evidence bridges the gap between folklore and science, offering measurable, testable data that speaks volumes about the creature's anatomy and biomechanics. Section 1. The Patterson-Gimlin Tracks, 1967. The Patterson-Gimlin film remains one of the most famous pieces of Bigfoot evidence, but the tracks left behind at Bluff Creek are equally compelling and scientifically significant. Discovery details. After filming what is now the most iconic Bigfoot footage ever, Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin carefully documented a series of tracks left behind by the creature. These prints were immediately cast by the team and later studied by researchers, including anthropologists Dr. Grover Krantz and Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum. 9 days after the footage was shot, a man named Bob Titmus found the film site and cast 10 more consecutive prints. According to Dr. Krantz, this second set of casts was especially instructive in showing the high degree of variation in a short series of natural footprints. This variation makes it extremely unlikely that the prints were fake, since fake prints made by artificial feet tend to be predictably all the same. Found in the sandy bed of Bluff Creek, the tracks were preserved in ideal conditions, allowing for detailed casts that captured every ridge and contour. Anatomical features. The tracks measured approximately 14.5 inches in length and 6 inches in width, showcasing well-defined toe impressions and a broad heel structure. The midtarsal break, a flexible joint in the middle of the foot, was a standout feature. This trait, found in non-human primates like gorillas and chimpanzees, allows for better weight distribution and flexibility when navigating uneven terrain. Humans, with their rigid arches, lack this adaptation. Dr. Meldrum described the midtarsal break as an evolutionary advantage for navigating rugged environments. Dermal ridges, akin to fingerprints, were present on the casts, showing natural skin textures that could only come from living tissue. The patterns were consistent with primate-like footpads, but scaled to a much larger size, ruling out known species. The ball of the foot showed a wide, flattened area, consistent with weight-bearing movement, while the toes displayed individual flexibility and splaying, indicating a dynamic gait. Gait analysis. The stride length, averaging 48 inches, suggested a creature standing over 7 feet tall. Advanced 3D pressure mapping revealed dynamic shifts in weight, with clear heel-to-toe rolling, consistent with walking rather than stamping. The tracks showed signs of propulsion from the toes, particularly the big toe, which is a hallmark of efficient bipedal locomotion. The absence of drag marks ruled out hoaxing with artificial molds. Scientific interest. The Patterson-Gimlin tracks have been studied extensively by anthropologists, biomechanists, and forensic experts. Their anatomical complexity and biomechanical realism have been cited as key evidence supporting the existence of a large bipedal primate. Dr. Meldrum has emphasized how these tracks demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of anatomy and locomotion that no hoaxer of the era could have replicated. Section 2. The Bossburg Cripplefoot Tracks, 1969. The Bossburg Cripplefoot tracks are among the most analyzed and debated, primarily because of their unique deformities that strongly suggest authenticity.
Discovery details. In December 1969, a series of tracks was discovered in snow near Bossburg, Washington. Interestingly, this area included the first county with a formal ordinance prohibiting the killing of a Sasquatch. This is an odd law to implement for a creature that doesn't exist. The most remarkable feature of these casts was the deformities observed in the right foot, leading Dr. Grover Krantz to name it Cripplefoot. Over 1,000 footprints were found, providing an extensive database for researchers to study gait patterns, stride lengths, and anatomical structure. Anatomical features. The right foot exhibited a curvature consistent with clubfoot, along with signs of a calcaneal spur, heel bone growth. These deformities resulted in uneven pressure distribution, visible in the tracks. The heel pad of the right foot was broader and flatter, consistent with compensation for a limp. The forefoot displayed pronounced gripping from the toes, indicating an adaptive response to the deformity. Toe spacing and splaying were evident, with the big toe showing signs of compensatory movement due to the deformity. In his book Big Footprints, Krantz noted that these pathological details aligned with injuries or deformities seen in large primates. He explained how incredibly unlikely it is that these tracks were fake, stating any hoaxer had to plan it all from nothing. This requires an expert anatomist with a very inventive mind, more so than me, and I seriously doubt that any such person exists. Dermal ridges were visible, reinforcing the conclusion that the tracks were made by a living creature rather than a carved or static object. Gait analysis. The tracks showed a distinct limp in the right foot, with the left foot compensating for the deformity. Biomechanical models constructed by Krantz demonstrated the consistency of the walking pattern over varying terrain. Pressure analysis revealed asymmetrical weight distribution between the feet, consistent with the observed deformities. This level of biomechanical precision strongly supports authenticity. Scientific interest. The Cripplefoot tracks are frequently cited as some of the strongest evidence for Bigfoot. Experts in anthropology and forensic podiatry have pointed to the anatomical accuracy of the deformities as evidence that these tracks could not have been faked. Krantz wrote extensively about the Cripplefoot tracks, arguing that they provide a forensic trail leading directly to the reality of Bigfoot. Section 3. The Blue Mountain Tracks, 1982. Discovered by Paul Freeman in the remote Blue Mountains of Washington state, these tracks remain some of the most credible due to their intricate details and unique location. Discovery details. Paul Freeman, a U.S. Forest Service worker, discovered these tracks in soft mud near the Walla Walla area. Each print measured over 15 inches in length and was part of a series stretching over 200 feet. The tracks were found in a secluded area with limited human access, reducing the likelihood of hoaxing. Key anatomical features. The prints displayed dermal ridges, fine, fingerprint-like textures unique to living skin. Meldrum noted that the dermal ridges exhibited patterns of wear consistent with a large, active creature. The heel was wide and thickened, suggesting significant weight distribution, while the ball of the foot and toe areas showed flexibility and dynamic movement. The toes also exhibited curling patterns, indicative of gripping. Dr. Grover Krantz explains, anyone who might have faked these tracks faced the unusual problem of getting to the sites unobserved with the equipment that not only made the footprints, but also impressed them so deeply, made each of the prints unique, showed flexible foot movements, and left no evidence of his presence. That faker also was an expert at dermatoglyphics who was able to include the appropriate amount of absolutely accurate friction skin detail. The midtarsal break was prominently visible, further supporting the hypothesis of a primate-like foot structure. Police expert Benny Kling commented that anyone who could engrave ridge detail of such quality should be counterfeiting money instead. After looking more closely at the visible sweat pores on the prints, he changed his opinion, stating firmly that no one could have faked the tracks. Gait and movement. The stride length, exceeding 50 inches in places, suggested a bipedal creature well over 8 feet tall. Pressure analysis revealed dynamic shifts across the foot, consistent with walking rather than stamping. Toe flexion marks indicated propulsion, with clear differences in how weight was distributed between steps. Meldrum's detailed biomechanical studies noted this consistency across tracks as a hallmark of authenticity. Scientific interest. The Blue Mountain tracks have been a focal point of academic study, with experts citing their biomechanical complexity as evidence of a real, unknown species. Dr. Meldrum has presented these tracks at scientific conferences, emphasizing their consistency with primate locomotion. Dr. Krantz stated a retired fingerprinter in Salem, Oregon, studied the originals of the Blue Mountain tracks for many hours while I watched, without finding anything to make him doubt their authenticity. Section 4. Verified Yowie Tracks of Australia, 1997. Australia's Yowie has long been compared to Bigfoot, and numerous footprint discoveries have provided compelling evidence of its existence. Some of the most well-documented tracks have been examined by researchers and cryptozoologists, revealing anatomical features consistent with a large, unknown biped. In 1997, large footprints were discovered in Acacia Hills, Northern Territory, by a local farmer after hearing strange howls at night. These tracks were examined and cast by researcher Rex Gilroy. Key anatomical features. The footprints measured 16 inches long and 7 inches wide with a midtarsal break, a feature commonly seen in Sasquatch tracks. Rex Gilroy stated, "The depth and gait of these prints are beyond human capability. We are dealing with a species adapted for rapid movement in dense bushland. Gait and movement. Toe impressions demonstrated a gait beyond human capability, and the toes showed a grasping ability, indicating an adaptation to rugged terrain. Scientific interest. These verified Yowie tracks have been compared to Bigfoot footprints in North America, with experts noting striking similarities in gait mechanics and anatomical features. Dr. Meldrum analyzed some Australian track casts and noted, the morphology of these prints suggests an undiscovered bipedal primate, consistent with other hominin-like trackways found globally. Section 5. The Yeti Tracks of the Himalayas, 1953. Bigfoot isn't just a North American phenomenon. Reports of similar creatures have emerged worldwide, including the Yeti of the Himalayas. Tracks found during an expedition in 1953 remain a focal point in the search for evidence. Discovery by Sir Edmund Hillary. During his historic ascent of Mount Everest, Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay encountered large, human-like footprints in the snow. These tracks, measuring over 13 inches in length, were documented and photographed. Key features. The stride length and alignment indicated a bipedal gait, inconsistent with known animals such as bears. The tracks were found at high altitudes where human presence was minimal. The toes appeared elongated and spaced wider than those of humans, reflecting adaptations for walking on snow and ice. Scientific interest. Zoologists Dr. Bernard Heuvelmans and Ivan T. Sanderson analyzed the photographs, concluding that the tracks did not match any known animal. Sanderson, in his writings, emphasized how the tracks reflected adaptations for high-altitude survival. Section 6. Footprint Hoaxes, Exposing the Fakes. While authentic Bigfoot tracks provide compelling evidence, many hoaxes have muddied the waters. Here, we examine infamous hoaxes and what sets genuine tracks apart. Ray Wallace hoax, 1950s. Construction company owner Ray Wallace admitted to creating fake tracks using carved wooden feet. His prints were static and uniform, lacking any dynamic features. Why it's different. Wallace's tracks had no dermal ridges, midtarsal breaks, or pressure variation. According to Meldrum, Wallace's hoaxes fail to replicate even basic anatomical details of genuine tracks. Meldrum states, the resemblance of the carvings to the 15-inch casts is actually fairly superficial. In fact, the wooden feet don't accurately match any of the casts they have been compared to. Jerry Crew Tracks, 1958. In 1958, Jerry Crew, a bulldozer operator in Humboldt County, California, discovered large, human-like footprints measuring approximately 16 inches in length near Bluff Creek. These findings garnered significant media attention, leading to the popularization of the term Bigfoot. Decades later, it was revealed that these tracks were part of an elaborate hoax orchestrated by hoaxer Ray Wallace. Tom Biscardi. Hoaxes. Tom Biscardi, a self-proclaimed Bigfoot hunter, has been involved in several high-profile hoaxes. In 2008, he promoted the discovery of a supposed Bigfoot carcass in Georgia, which was later revealed to be a rubber costume. The associated tracks and evidence lacked consistency in size, shape, and depth. They showed no signs of toe movement or weight distribution, features typically present in authentic tracks. The absence of dermal ridges and the uniformity of the impressions further indicated their fabricated nature. Section 7. Why authentic tracks stand apart. Authentic Bigfoot tracks exhibit characteristics that are incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to fake. The combination of dermal ridges, midtarsal breaks, dynamic movement, and biomechanical accuracy provides a compelling case for their authenticity. Verified analyses from experts like Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum and Dr. Grover Krantz provide the foundation for understanding why these features matter. Dermal ridges. Dermal ridges are the skin patterns on the soles of feet, similar to fingerprints. Meldrum explains in his book, Sasquatch, Legend Meets Science, how dermal ridges show natural variations due to movement and wear, which cannot be replicated artificially. He states, the transient nature of dermal ridges and their differential persistence in certain areas of the foot compared to others sometimes goes unappreciated. Instead, the patterns of distribution are attributed exclusively to wear and abrasion of the plantar skin, leading to some unsupported criticisms of the ridge details. Midtarsal breaks. The midtarsal break is a flexible joint in the middle of the foot, common in non-human primates. Meldrum describes this feature as critical for weight distribution in uneven terrain, a characteristic absent in human feet and in every known footprint hoax. Dynamic movement. Authentic tracks display depth variations and pressure shifts consistent with walking. Dr. Meldrum's studies of pressure distribution highlight these dynamic qualities as hallmarks of genuine locomotion. Another quality of authentic tracks is their uncanny tendency to continue across difficult terrain with apparent ease. Dr. Krantz explains, footprint trails are sometimes observed to cross unusual obstacles. These are often far beyond the ability of even the largest and most athletic human. The most impressive of these that I have seen is where tracks passed easily over tightly strung barbed wire fence, 44 inches or 1.1 meters off the ground. Quantity of tracks. The sheer number of documented Sasquatch tracks over the past several decades highlights how ridiculous it is to believe they're all the work of hoaxers. Based on decades of research and experience, Dr. Krantz estimates that roughly 100 million separate track events have taken place in the last 50 years, many of which involve lines of tens or even hundreds of individual footprints. He explains, if the typical event includes 10 visible impressions, there may be a billion separate footprints. If the hoaxer works a 5-day week, he or she has been planting 100,000 footprints every day, or 12,500 per hour. Bigfoot footprints are more than oversized marks in the dirt. They're detailed, anatomical evidence that something extraordinary walks the earth. The dermal ridges, midtarsal breaks, and biomechanical accuracy of genuine tracks separate them from hoaxes and demand serious scientific inquiry. Dr. Krantz states, footprints have been found near homesteads and small communities, in plowed farmland, and also in some of the most inaccessible places where human observers are able to travel. Dr. Meldrum and Dr. Krantz's extensive analyses leave us with a question. How exactly could these tracks be anything but real? What do you think? Are these tracks the smoking gun for Bigfoot's existence? Share your thoughts in the comments.
Well, there you have it. A pretty airtight case, logically speaking, why the tracks we've examined in this video really couldn't have been made by anything other than a Sasquatch. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to Cabin in the Woods. And if you want to show me extra support and contribute to future videos, I'll leave a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page in the description below. Thanks for watching.